Welcome to Kilroy's Outlaws and Legends Behind the Music with your host, multi-award-winning music producer, Eddie Kilroy. And now, here's your host, Eddie Kilroy.
Hey, how are you? Welcome to another episode of Kilroy's Outlaws, Legends, and Beyond the Music, because we want to share with you things that we experienced over decades in Nashville and the artists I produced and the many artists that were friends of mine and a bunch more that I just knew. And what a fun day this is going to be. Liz, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing just fine. How are you doing?
You're looking fine. I'm doing great.
I'm looking fine?
Yeah, any better?
You're looking pretty shiny yourself.
If I felt any better, I'd be bad.
You know what? This is fall now. I see you got your black felt out.
You know, sometimes I don't even look at the calendar, but I know I'm right now. But the other day I was
You're not supposed to wear straw.
No, what I do, I don't know why I do it, but if I don't pay any attention to when you're supposed to change wearing colors.
Labor Day.
I know that.
No more white.
But if it's hot in September, I'm going to put on a straw hat.
Hey, look, see, my fingernails are now red. I mean, you gotta run with the seasons, right?
This is going to be a fun day. Hey, a listener wrote in.
Well, wait. We're always asking. Asking at the end of the show if there's anything you want to hear about, to please let us know.
Very true. Very true. And someone took up that advice, and they wrote a note in which you can do that. Incidentally, if you want to hear something special or hear about anybody special, somebody wanted to hear about Tanya Tucker. This is going to be kind of a fun deal because I knew Tanya not too well, not as well as I knew most of the rest of the artists. And I never did produce Tanya. She was a neighbor of mine for a number of years. But, golly, I got angry with her one time. I'm not mad, just kind of aggravated.
Well, you're jumping ahead of yourself.
No.
Let's get back. She was much older then, so let's get back to...
yes, okay.
You're always jumping ahead of yourself.
But that incident stands out in my mind.
That's
because
what you have me for.
I'll tell you what she shorted me on in a minute. No, Tanya was a complex lady, a complex girl who grew up into a complex lady. I'm sure, not just Tanya, but most of the people that achieved what she achieved when she was, almost a child. Not really a child, 12, 13 years old.
Young teenager.
Yeah, young teenager, has a huge record and has to go out into an adult world with a bunch of seasoned adult singers. And that was amazing. And I want to hand it to somebody on this. There was a record producer in Nashville. He's dead now. Recently passed away. His name was Billy Sherrill. Extremely, extremely talented guy. One of the best record producers I ever knew. Matter of fact, when I was producing records, I had to get on my high horse and run fast to keep up with him.
Just to keep up with him?
That lad could cut a record, and he cut many, many hits. And he had the foresight to take a gamble on a 13-year-old girl.
And you didn't?
She was never offered to me.
Oh, okay.
No. Went straight to CBS. I don't think she ever was heard, as far as I know, by another record label other than Columbia. Mm-hmm. And Billy was doing all the work there, and he produced a great record on her, and others also.
And that would have been Delta Dawn, probably.
Yeah,
right?
Delta Dawn, and she had so many hits.
Oh yeah, she had a lot for a young woman.
She really did.
But you knew her daddy real well.
Yeah, Bo was a good guy, and Bo was. I think I'm right on this because we talked heavy equipment because my father had a large construction company, so I was raised around bulldozers, drag lines, and what have you. I think Bo was a bulldozer operator, and he may have run drag lines too. I'm not sure. Knew nothing about the intricacies of the music business, but he managed her up until he died. But Bo did, I think what Bo did was he kind of felt his way around, maybe watched other people, because he made some good strategic moves for Tanya. Tanya loved horses.
Yeah.
One day the phone rang. She lived in College Grove, Tennessee, and so did I. Places were maybe 2 or 3 miles apart. And she loved Appaloosa horses. And her Appaloosa horses, they were definitely apps. They were polka dots. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were white with dots all over them. And her choice was Appaloosas. And one day the phone rings at my place, and it was Bo. And he said, Kilroy, you have hay, don't you? I think he knew that I had leased out about 50 acres of my place to a guy to raise hay, and then I would get part of the hay. And so I said, well, yeah, Bo, I have hay. He said, can I buy some from you? I said, no, but I'll darn sure give you some. What do you need it for? He said, well, we have a guy taking care of Tanya's horses, and they're not eating the hay he's feeding them. And I said, well, tell you what, they're eating the hay I'm raising over here, believe me. So I put, I don't know, not much, 12, 15 bales on the trailer. Drove over there. It was only a few miles, like I said. And I looked at what the guy was feeding the horses, and no wonder the horses wouldn't eat it. It's what we called bedding straw. It is definitely straw. Now, people may not know about it. Years ago, that's what they used in the stalls on racetracks, was straw.
Still do most of the time, don't they?
Yeah, sometimes they do, and maybe most of the time, but most everybody goes to pine shavings, just like we've done, and I've never used straw for bedding in a stall. But anyway, you've seen it. You folks don't know what we're talking about. Most of you do, but if you don't, when you plant grass on the interstate and there's a slope there, and you see that brown stuff that looks kind of like hay on top, that's to keep the water from running. But that is bedding straw, is really what it is. And some of the stems big as my little finger. And he was trying to get them to eat bedding straw. And he was from somewhere in the east. And Bo told me, he said, the guy just didn't know.
Well.
And I said, well, trust me, he'll eat this hay. So I gave him up some hay, and I guess from then on, the guy knew the difference between hay and bedding straw. But Tanya loved the horses. And Tanya, what I know about Tanya is that she grew up in a hard way, not with her folks, because Bo was good as gold. But being thrown into that pool of talent at such a young age, I can't believe that. I mean,
and having to tour.
Yeah, and touring. And I mean, she was big time by the time that girl was 15 years old. I mean, she had already had Jamestown Ferry, written by Bobby Borchers and Mac Vickery. And what else? I can't remember. Too many hits.
Borchers up there on the wall there.
Yeah, Borchers, and Mac Vickery wrote the Jamestown Ferry, she did. But Tanya was a nice girl, but she was, there's no secrets. You can read any biography or autobiography on Tanya and know that she was fighting demons as she grew older and grew into age and got to doing some substances that she perhaps shouldn't have been doing. And then she hooked up with Glenn Campbell, who was doing a whole lot of substances that he shouldn't have been doing. And that
demons had a hold of him.
Yeah, that
period.
was a crazy thing. But I got to tell you a funny story on Tanya. This is the position. Jimmy Bowen and I went over at the same level to run MCA Universal. And Tanya was already signed to them. So she wanted to do... she had grown into a whole new feeling, or I don't know.
She'd grown up.
Yeah, and she wanted to rock a little more, and that was fine.
And party.
And she did, yep, and party. So she wanted to do an album in L.A. Well, we were running top budget, maybe in Nashville at that time, $100,000 to produce an album. Out in L.A., it was going to be about $150,000. But Tanya was hot, and that's okay. And so when I had to okay all the bills that came in to the office, and I'm getting all these bills from the studios and the Musicians Union in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And the album was started at $100,000, was up to, gosh, I'm thinking I'm right when I say around a couple of $100,000. And I'm saying, wait a minute. I called Bo. I said, Bo, we got a problem here. I said, you guys went way over budget. And I know that there was a lot of partying going on and people were having in. But at that particular time, the record I'm talking about, it was the album, the album was called TNT. Mm-hmm, that was the album she did in L.A. And she had a huge record off that called When I Die,
I May Not Go to Heaven.
I May Not Go to Heaven. You want to go to Texas, right? Mm-hmm. And she cut that out in L.A. And at the end of that, she was attracted to rodeo cowboys, okay? So if you listen to Texas When I Die, at the very end, when it starts fading out, you hear all the people hollering, yippee, yay, hi, a bunch of carrying on, hand clapping. Those were all pro-rodeo cowboys that she just flew them in to carry on at the end of the album. I name them, I know some. Bobby Brown, pretty good bronc rider. Hawkeye Henson, another bronc rider. And another couple of cowboys I can't think of.
Bob Tallman?
I'm pretty sure Bob Tallman was there because at that time Bob was running. He was running pretty hot and heavy.
And he's an announcer, not a cowboy.
Yeah, referring to.
Well, he might be a cowboy, but he didn't ride rough stock.
I don't think Bob ever cowboy.
He announced.
But by far, and we didn't do this thing to talk about him, but Bob Tallman, and you know I was a pro rodeo announcer, so I can kind of judge another pro rodeo announcer. I would like to have been just half as good as Bob Tallman. Bob Tallman was the greatest rodeo announcer that ever lived, and I will argue that till the day I die, but we're getting back to Tanya Tucker now.
And I think you're pretty darn good.
Well, they hired me, and all the checks they gave me, they all passed.
I think you were good, but yes, let's get back to Tanya.
But Tanya was extremely talented. I think that for that time, maybe even if she was on top of her game today, I don't think there was a female singer that could work a crowd any better than Tanya Tucker.
She did do that.
Tanya put a show on.
She sure did.
And she had those years to grow and to polish her craft. I saw her at the Houston Rodeo, and I looked back and I said, man, that little 13-year-old girl's come a long way, because the stadium there, Reliance Stadium. It used to be the Astrodome, and then they built the Reliance Stadium for the rodeo and stock show. And she put on a show, and she had the crowd rocking. And the only thing that, the little store in Triune, I've been wanting to tell this story.
Go ahead, tell the story.
It aggravated me. It did make me mad. I was aggravated as a Dickens, but then I had to chuckle. You know, you go in a convenience store right there at Triune, Tennessee. It's a little wide spot in the road, the intersection of Highway 96 and Nolensville Road. And I decided that I needed some beer. I was out of beer. So I'll just go up this little convenience store.
You don't drink beer, do you?
Only when I can get my hands on it, and it's slightly cool.
Slightly cool. I know better than that.
Cold. Remember, I'm from Texas. Cold beer.
Oh, wait a minute. What?
Now what?
What was it? That just nothing to do with Tanya. But what was it Willie told somebody about?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Bill Anderson.
Bill Anderson asked.
All right.
Yep.
Tell that one real quick.
Bill Anderson asked Willie one time, said, Willie, why can't I get work in Texas? And Willie said, hell, Bill, we drink beer louder than you sing.
That beer just reminded me of that.
Yeah.
To me, I love that.
No,
Anyway, back to your story.
I just wheeled my old truck up in this convenience store, went in, all I wanted was 1 or 2 6-packs of Coors. And you know, the convenience stores, they have the coolers with the glass doors. Well, Coors had just been really available in Tennessee for 4 or 5 years, so it was a big deal. Everybody wanted to drink Coors. And
including you.
Yeah, and there was this big cooler packed with Coors, and I'd always go in there and get a 6-pack. And I'd go in and I said, what happened to all the Coors beer? I want a 6-pack of beer. Do you have any in the back? He said, no, have any in the back. I said, what happened to that huge cooler of Coors beer? He said, Tanya's having a party at her place, and somebody came in and bought it all for her. She bought the entire convenience store out. One, it costs more at a convenience store than it does at
I don't think she cared what the cost was.
I think it aggravated me that she had bought every can of Coors beer, every bottle of Coors beer. Worse than that, she didn't invite me to go drink it with them.
I was going to ask that.
No invite.
Didn't even invite you.
No, I respect Tanya for everything that she has accomplished, everything she's done. She went through those years where the demons were fighting her. She took steps to beat the demons. Mm-hmm. She went to, I don't know if it was the Betty Ford Center or perhaps it was, but someplace to get her life straightened out. And I think the first time didn't take. I think the second time she went back, and as far as I know, but she's an extremely talented lady that should be working more than she's working, should be recording more, but the recording industry a lot of industries do the same thing.
Well, yeah.
They will just chew you up and then spit you out when they're done with you.
Absolutely. That's the way it is in most of them. And she's not the young, pretty thing that she was. And,
no. And
that's not what they want.
Still sings, but that doesn't matter.
Nope.
And once those records start dropping in sales a little bit, they've chewed you up, they made the money, spit you out, next, come on in. Record business is a hard business to survive in any field, whether you're a writer, a publisher, a producer, an artist. You're only as good as your next record. Mm-hmm. And that's the measurement they use. Don't forget, please. I'm glad that guy wrote, whomever the guy was, I'm sorry.
I don't remember his name, and I tried looking it back up, and I couldn't find it. But
anyway,
if you're listening, you know who you are. We thank you for asking.
You wanted to hear something about Tanya. I really wish that I had more stories about Tanya.
That you could tell. You have a lot, but you can't tell them. But there are more.
There are more, but I'm not, we don't do that.
We don't trash talk.
Suppose I trash talk Jerry Lee Lewis. We'd be here a month. No way I would say.
We're not going to trash talk anybody. And you do have a lot more stories you can tell. You just can't tell it now.
Yeah, we've got a lot of stories to tell. We built, it took 4 decades to accumulate all these stories. 4 decades in Nashville were just like, oh my God, am I going to remember all these things? But I sit around and I think about it, and how many times are we sitting in the den and something will just flash on me and I'll say, hey, let me tell you something,
I don't know. I have to tell you, I've heard that like 5 times maybe, because you forgot that you told me 5 years ago.
I have flashbacks.
It took 2 years for you to tell me all the stories, and
boy, that's a lot.
Then you started repeating yourself.
Well, when you run out of them, you got to start over again.
And I had to tell you, no, you've already told me all that.
Well, listen, I sure enjoy visiting with them, and I wish I knew things I could talk about on Tanya, but Tanya has had her problems. It's been in print. It's been on television. Everybody knows it. No use in me talking about anything like that. It's really not the point. The point is she's surviving, she's working, and she has, as far as I know, Tanya has her life together, and I'm proud of her for it.
And when she first started out, I think Bo had one of the first, what did they call those Peterbilt, instead of a tour bus? He bought... The front end of it, the tractor part of it, was a Peterbilt.
I know who you're talking about. You're talking about the young girl from Tyler that lives out in L.A. now.
That wasn't Tanya?
No, it was a girl that had the song Blue, Leanne Rimes.
Oh, Leanne Rimes.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Her dad tried to manage her.
Well, I'm sorry. Wrong one.
No, that's okay. That's okay. It's similar, though.
Just ignore that part.
Yeah, he got she got ahead. He got the money, and he decided he wanted to get in the cutting horse business.
Bo?
No, Leanne Rimes' father. I don't know him. And so he spent a lot of her money on cutting horses.
Well, yeah.
But you did.
I'm sure that same thing happened to Tanya with her daddy, too.
Yes, but...
I mean, he was managing her. He was controlling a 13-year-old's money.
I know he was, but he was frugal, because the first tour bus that Tanya had, I had to laugh. They have the tour buses that are built for going across the whole United States 100 times. Bo bought a used city bus. The ones you catch at the bus stop, designed to go in the city. And he's put some bunks inside of it and kind of fixed it up. But that was Tanya's first.
That was her first tour
bus. Was a old city bus.
Did he repaint it?
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
What did he do with all the windows?
I painted them too, probably. Knowing Bo.
Well, I'm sure to a 13 or a 14 by that time year old young girl that it suited her.
I've had so much fun visiting with all of our friends out there, and I hope you'll like and subscribe and help us out, spread the word, because we want to build this up to keep the stories and the lives of all the people that are alive today in country music, and all of those that have passed and have gone and no longer with us. But first of all, I want to talk about Total Feeds. You know, people think,
We missed that in the beginning again.
you know, yeah, because people think, oh, yeah, Total Feeds. Dr. Harry Anderson is paying Kilroy a lot of money to talk about that. That's not true. I talk about Total Feeds because Liz and I know Dr. Harry Anderson, and we know how dedicated he is in making sure proper nutrition for all species of animals. And it is really incredible. I think we met Dr. Anderson years ago.
Oh, gosh, 15 or so years. I don't know. Been a long time.
Immediately put all of our horses on Total Equine. And they just bloomed and blossomed, you know. At the same time, though, Dr. Anderson had Total People. You remember that?
Yes.
Okay. So there was Total People, Total Equine, both extremely, overwhelmingly successful. And now he just started growing into different things like Total Bovine, Total Goat, the Total Canine, which we fed before to our dogs.
Total Bull.
Total Bull, the bull.
So that's the reason why it's called Total Feeds.
And I urge you.
We have too many.
Yeah, you go to the website, totalfeeds.com. Read all about the products there for different things, different species, also legitimate testimonials of what the feeds have done for the livestock these people have, and the Total People also, it's there. So go to it, and in the meantime, subscribe, like, leave us a message. Let us know if you want us to talk about any artist in particular, any instance. If I can tell that story with candid
honesty,
truthfulness, yeah. You won't hear a lie from me. If I tell you something, it's something that I know, or I was there, or I found out it's true. So stay with us. Thank you for our sponsors, Total Feeds, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and send us messages. Anything else to add?
Nope.
Got it done. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Kilroy's Outlaws and Legends Behind the Music. If you have any thoughts or questions about the content, email them. Kilroy Outlaws and Legends, all one word, at yahoo.com. That's Kilroy, no S, Outlaws and Legends, all one word, at yahoo.com. And don't forget to subscribe. Third-party use of any part of this podcast without the expressed consent of Eddie Kilroy is prohibited. The Kilroy's Outlaws and Legends Behind the Music podcast is a production of Eddie Kilroy.